want to talk to y'all about how bad my anxiety used to be and how I cured that shit. So the other day, a girl I saw in passing was telling me about her weekend and telling me about how her boyfriend had gone out of town and how she hated being without him and she hated being alone. And she told me, she said, I'm the type of person who just can't sleep alone. This brought me back. I used to say that so often. I genuinely thought I could not be alone, and if I was left alone, I would freak out. I would have an anxiety attack, or so I thought it was at the time. I guess that's the only thing I could explain it as. Um, but basically, I would just freak out anytime I was alone. And I remember the first time that I noticed how bad it was when my dad had gone to get groceries and I was at my dad's house. He lived in a small town at the time, and I typically lived with my mom more in the town where my friends were. But I was at my dad's house today and I didn't have my car for whatever reason. And my dad had gone to go on a grocery run or something, and none of my friends were answering the phone. They weren't texting me back, they weren't Snapchatting me, whatever. I was alone for maybe 2 hours. I had a full on anxiety, panic attack, whatever you want to call it. I was not okay with being alone. I was freaking out, but I didn't really know why at the time. Now I understand it more, and that's what I'm going to talk about in the video today. But just a little bit more backstory about how bad this really got. Um, that story I just told must have been the first time I was alone in like a year or something, some crazy amount, because I just did not even notice. But I lived with my family and I have a bunch of friends in high school and stuff, so I just never had to be alone really. But when it got really bad was once I was a little bit more grown up, out of high school, I started dating and I would get so attached to these boys that once one left, I had to get another one immediately. I only ended up dating like three guys or whatever, but in between those, there was not a moment where I was not talking to someone, because if I could sleep next to somebody, I would. Point blank period. I would always try to have somebody around me at all times, especially when I was sleeping, because you sleep alone. Everyone sleeps alone for the most part, unless you're married. You're supposed to sleep alone. And so I would just go in and out of relationships all the time. I would jump right into it, get so attached. I wouldn't vet the person at all, of course. I would just pick the first person that was attracted to me and showed interest in me and latch myself onto them, because I was so afraid of being alone with my own thoughts. I really think that's what it boils down to, is that I couldn't stand my own thoughts because they were mean and they caused me stress and worry, because I had no control over my mind. And I didn't know any of this at the time. I was not aware of any of this at all. I just lived my life this way, and I didn't really put much thought into how I could make it better. I just kind of lived like that because I didn't know better, I guess. But at some point along the way, I got really attached to this idea that I had a disorder. So I told myself, and I eventually told other people, that I had what I called a panic disorder, because there's anxiety attacks and panic attacks, and if you Google them, Google will give you definitions of this. And so all I did was Google some symptoms and came to this conclusion on my own accord. Never went to a therapist, never saw a psychiatrist or anything, any sort of professional whatsoever. I just went into Google, decided that since I didn't like being alone and I would sometimes freak out, that I had a panic disorder. And since I decided that, it became my belief that there was nothing I could do about it. I was born this way. It's a disorder. It's something wrong with my brain. There's nothing I can do to change the way I am, and therefore I should just accept it as it is and do nothing about it, essentially. Obviously, I didn't think, oh, I'm not going to do anything about this. But that's what I was doing. I was refusing to try to better myself and try to get myself out of that position. And I do feel really bad because looking back on it now, I must have put I would do it in front of other people. Like I would freak out, sob, hyperventilate, like cause a ruckus, y'all, over like nothing. Or if I was just left alone for a minute, and sometimes I would be around people and just hear my own thoughts, and that would cause me to freak out. And I just expected those people to completely understand. I guess I'm talking about my mom and my boyfriends maybe at the time. Boyfriends, not all at once. Boyfriend at whatever point in time I'm talking about. But I would freak out in front of them, y'all. I was so unself-aware. I was just like, what? It's a disorder. How dare you judge me? Like, so I expected them not to judge me, and they didn't. They were nice for the most part. But if they tried to help me, I would judge them for it. If they tried to say something that implied that I could fix it, I would be like, how dare you? I have a disorder. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do about it. I was born like this. You know what I mean? And so for the longest time, I didn't try to fix it because I didn't think I could. Like, I put that restriction on myself. I didn't think that I was capable of changing my own thoughts. I didn't think that was possible. I thought you just have the thoughts you have and there's nothing you can do. They pop in, they're intrusive, they're sporadic, there's no way for you to change your thoughts. That is not true. You can absolutely change your thoughts. Of course, you're going to have intrusive thoughts that pop in from time to time, but you can deliberately change the patterns of thoughts that you have. And I didn't know that at the time. Now I'm here and I do, and I can teach y'all how I did it. But the first step was to not put these restraining statements onto myself, like I just can't sleep alone, or it's a disorder. I have a disorder. There's nothing I can do about it. I wasn't even diagnosed, first of all. Even if I was, I mean, personally, I think there's still behavioral tools that you can use to try to to prevent these anxiety attacks and panic attacks, whatever you want to call them, from happening in the future. So I'm going to share the tools with y'all today. But first, I want you to do an exercise. It won't take long, 5 minutes. I want you to do it right now. All you need is a pen and a piece of paper. If you're not close to one, get your lazy ass up and go get it. If you're driving, whatever, you can't write when you drive. Fair enough. But please get up, go grab a piece of paper right now and a pen, and then come sit back where you were. Sit down, get comfy. I'm going to have you close your eyes, set a 5-minute timer on your phone, pause this video, and I want you to observe the thoughts that naturally come to you. Don't deliberately try to think of something. Just try and sit there and don't worry too much about what comes into your head. But I want you to pick through your thoughts like Tinder. So I want positive and negative. Just for now, for this exercise, just write down the negative thoughts that spontaneously pop into your head. So just sit there, silence, 5-minute timer, like Tinder, left, right, like positive, negative, write down the negative ones. Don't think too much into it. Is this really negative? I don't know, because don't think about it. Just positive, negative, positive, negative. You can write them all down if you want. For the sake of this exercise, just write down the negative ones so we can kind of get an idea of what we're working with here. So, okay, go do that. And then come back to me. Damn, I'm out of tea. Okay. So now that you've done that, you should have a list of negative thoughts. Obviously, I hope that you don't have a list of negative thoughts, but most likely you do. I still have negative thoughts. I did this exercise earlier. I still had some negative thoughts to write down, even though I've been working on this for a long time. But now what I want you to do, since you have this list in front of you, I want you to go through every single statement or thought that you wrote down and change the thought into a positive one. So it's equal and opposite positive. So let me think of something. I don't know. Like, say, like yesterday, I remember I took a nap and then I felt guilty about taking the nap because I'm not supposed to take naps because I take long ass naps. Every time I lay down, I take like a 3 hour nap. And so I'm not allowing myself to take naps anymore. But I took a nap. Okay. So the thought that I had was I took a nap and I wasn't supposed to, and I'm embarrassed. So the equal and opposite positive thing that you could write is I feel well rested. Today I feel well rested. I'm happy that I got enough sleep. You know, whatever you think of quickly and efficiently. But just change all the negatives to positives, write them all down, and then come back. Okay, so now that you've done that, that exercise is just an example of how you can become aware of your thoughts and change them. And so now in the future, when you have those negative thoughts pop into your mind, shut it down as fast as you can. If you find yourself recurringly, that's not a word, thinking of these thoughts, just try to remind yourself to reframe the thought positively. Yes, the negative thoughts are still going to come in, but when they do come in, now you're equipped to remind yourself to switch it over to the positive. So that's one thing you can do. That's a good exercise to work on, but not only just doing it on paper for 5 minutes a day, constantly throughout the day, try to think of how you can reframe the negative thoughts that come up into positive ones, into ones that support you, ones that are beneficial to you, ones that don't limit you. The other thing that you can do, this is a daily habit, is meditating. Some people don't want to take the time out of their day to meditate, but I'm telling you guys, it is the most beneficial thing you can do for anxiety. If you are one of those people that says, I've tried meditating, it just doesn't work for me, you have to understand that meditating is not something you do and see immediate benefits. It is just like exercise. Like if you are extremely overweight and you go exercise one time, are you going to lose 20 pounds? No, of course not. If I want abs and I go do a 5-minute ab exercise, am I going to look in the mirror after that 5-minute ab exercise? Oh, I was expecting abs. Like, of course you wouldn't expect abs. Of course not. You might make a little joke like, ooh, can you see my abs yet? But you're not going to expect to have a 6-pack after one 5-minute ab workout. Same thing with meditation. You have to do it every single day for months before you're going to see benefit. Ideally, the studies say that 13 minutes is the most beneficial. Anything after that, it's kind of, diminishing returns. But 13 minutes, perfect. If 13 minutes is too much, start with one. Start with literally 1 minute. If you can't do 1 minute a day, like there is no excuses for this. If you can't do 1 minute a day, everyone has 1 minute. Everybody on this earth has 1 minute a day. There's just really no excuses for it. You will see benefits after a long time of doing this, like months, just like anything else. You don't write for 5 minutes one time and get a book. You're not going to be a New York Times bestseller after writing for 5 minutes. It's just not how it works, y'all. But the benefits to meditation are so immense. You become so self-aware of your own thoughts and you gain so much more control over your own emotions. There are so many different types of meditations as well that can help you out with different things. Today I'm going to talk about mindfulness meditation, which is when you sit down and observe the thoughts that come in and you just observe them, because for me that's the most important, and it's been proven that this type of meditation most likely is the one that reduces loneliness the most. They've done many studies on this. This is a long time. There's a lot of research, y'all. If you don't believe me, just look that shit up. But mindfulness is the one where you just sit and you observe. There's an app that I use called Medito. Medito. I'll put it in the link below. But it has no ads. It's such a good app. Love it. Great app. Highly recommend. And it keeps a streak for you. And there's like 3 minute, 5 minute. There's all kinds of meditation on there. It's very organized, very easy to understand. And it can teach you if you want to learn more how to meditate. But if you don't want to use the app, all you have to do is sit. I recommend sitting. If I lay down, I will fall asleep like I just talked about. I love sleep, y'all. But I don't lay down because I will fall asleep. Sitting up is great. If you find that this position where you're crisscross, just sitting up, is uncomfortable for you, you can sit in a chair. That works great as well. If you can close your eyes, perfect. If you find that your eyes are like twitching because you're so anxious or so jittery if you have caffeine, I recommend to just stare at a blank wall. Just anything where you're not distracted. So, mindfulness type of meditation, you just sit and observe. There's also other kind of meditations. There's another really popular one is the focused style meditation where you focus your attention about an inch behind your forehead and you try and focus and only think about, maybe you think about your breathing. So you focus on your breath while also keeping your attention 1 inch behind your forehead. And every time you notice, oh, I'm not focused, I'm thinking about something, you bring your attention back. And that one will improve focus. It will improve the length of time that you can focus on something like work. That one's very beneficial as well. But for anxiety reducing purposes and to reduce loneliness, I recommend mindfulness. There's so many other ones. There's movement, transcendental, mantra. There's a lot of shit. But if you want to learn more, Medito is great. But please, y'all, please just do your best to meditate. You have to make it a habit. By a good way to make a habit of something is to attach it to another habit. So like brushing your teeth. I'm assuming you brush your teeth every day. So just after you brush your teeth, come back in your room, pick a quiet spot or wherever you like to meditate. Maybe you like to meditate in nature or in your bedroom, in your living room, wherever the fuck you want to meditate. But pick a quiet, peaceful spot, sit down, just get it over with. It's not hard to do. You just sit there. It's actually like one of the easiest things to do when you really think about it. But for some people, it's really hard to just sit with your own thoughts like it was for me. But this is key. Please meditate. Another thing you can do to improve your awareness and reduce anxiety is to journal. So the exercise I had you do earlier was mindfulness meditation plus journaling at the same time. I wouldn't recommend doing them both at the same time every day. That was just kind of to entertain all three things that I'm talking about here. But there's two ways that I'd recommend to start out journaling. The first way is observing, like we did in the exercise. So literally just spewing your thoughts out onto the paper and just writing whatever comes into your mind, whatever you're thinking about that day. It's also good to be aware of your thought patterns, like what you've been thinking about in the past few days or that day or whatever. Maybe not just in that moment, but in the recent past. Get it all out there. Write down all your thoughts. Writing down your thoughts gives your brain more time because like the way you have to write it with a pen or a pencil, writing it physically slows down your brain. It slows down your thoughts and allows you to really contemplate those thoughts. Your thoughts don't just race through. They can't race through because they only can go as fast as you can write. And so it slows it down, makes it really easy to become more aware of your thoughts. So you can journal and just observe your thoughts and write them down. Or you can also try to deliberately put positive thoughts into your head by writing out gratitude. A great way to do gratitude and make it a habit is just the second your eyes open, have your journal right on your nightstand or wherever. close to your head and immediately start writing gratitude. I personally do it by just filling the entire page, like no bullet points or anything, but I write, I'm grateful for. And at the beginning, if you find it hard, it's not that hard. You can be grateful for anything. Like, I'm grateful for my big ass mirror. I'm grateful for my camera. I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful for this house. I'm grateful for this bed. So comforting. If you, it's nice if you can elaborate. I'm so grateful for this bed because it provides me the comfort I need to get a full night's sleep and feel well rested for the next day to accomplish my tasks and pursue my mission. And you can get into detail with it, but if you can't right away and you feel that that's too hard and that's going to keep you from doing the habit and making it into a daily practice, just do the basics. I'm grateful for my water bottle. I'm grateful for this blanket. Like, it's easy. It's not meant to be hard. It's not meant to be complicated. It's just something that if you do it every day, you will see benefits over an extended period of time. So by doing the gratitude journaling, it's going to cause you to start thinking of gratitude start thinking of gratitude throughout the day. And so it will remind you to be grateful, and then therefore you will be deliberately putting positive gratitude thoughts into your head. You're going to be more likely to think positive thoughts throughout the day versus negative, anxiety ridden ones. So that's the second thing I have for you. Those are by far the easiest things to do to reduce anxiety. The third one I have is more for being okay with being alone. I learned to start dating myself, pretending like I am in a relationship with myself, and to respect my own time in a way that I will literally set up a actual date for myself. Like, today I'm going to paint with myself, and just like whatever you would think to do on a date with someone, just do it with yourself, but respect that it's just going to be with yourself, and the date is with you and yourself and no one else. And if you let someone intrude on your date, then you're being disrespectful to yourself. Like, who wants to be invited on a date and then have their friend come with? Like, that's the third wheel. Nobody wants that. There are so many things you can do on a date. You can go out to eat by yourself too. If that causes you too much anxiety, though, like, create a date where no one's around. Like, take a walk in nature by yourself on purpose. Paint, read a book. Like, there's so many things you can make into a date. Like, propagate a plant. Fucking, I don't know. Literally, you can make anything into a date. Like, clean your room, but like, make it a deliberate date with yourself by like making sure and setting the boundary that you're going to do it alone, and you're not going to invite anyone else to the date with yourself. That's what's important. And just being there for yourself. Comfort yourself. Don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to a friend. Like, just don't be so harsh on yourself. Why you gotta be so mean? Your brain believes the things you say to it, so don't say mean things, or it's gonna believe you, and then you're going to be what you think about. It's not good. Be kind to yourself, y'all. Okay, meditate every day, journal every day. Deliberately go out of your way to be alone, no matter how hard it is. Express love to yourself. Give yourself a hug. Clean your room. Read a book. Drink tea. All right. Love y'all.